No data, the screen says. Is it gonna cut out already? Why don't we check the we could log into the modem, we can check the statistics on anyways, or we could refresh live control. Oh, excellent connection. Messing with me, YouTube. So after getting my provisioning speed upgraded earlier, my modem actually had some sync issues. So I haven't had a broadband connection have sync issues and disconnect since the DSL days. What an embarrassment for the cable folks in my area. What is up, everybody? This is Jay, aka MultimediaJay, coming at you once again in the middle of the night, recording a little something for the HD Reality Check, the little series I've been doing on and off for the last couple of years, basically hard countering fanboy arguments and helping people keep their head on straight in the HD world. And tonight, I want to double down on something that I've been saying for quite some time. Since coming back to this, I said numerous times since coming back to this, physical media equals enthusiast format. It used to be the case, and now that I have all the Jaws movies here, I can actually once again use them as examples of all of this. It used to be the case that DVD was a mainstream format because Blu Ray was over the top of it, so to speak, in terms of quality. So this is the good enough format that people would upscale and whatnot, and then this was the enthusiast format that actually was in 1080p. In today's world, though, streaming has become such a monster, and online services that are very friendly with every device you have, large TV, smart TV, or little 5-inch phone screen, or whatever the heck you're watching stuff on, with whatever setup you happen to have. The digital and the internet and streaming is a absolute monster, and digital and streaming is picking up where DVD left off. It's gotten to the point, and we're going to go over some hard numbers on this. Not going to put anything on the screen, though, because it's from the MPA, the Motion Picture Association, similar to the MPAA, Motion Picture Association of America. So we're talking about folks that are kind of like the RIAA. So copyright nuts extraordinaire. So I'm not going to put any of their stuff on the screen, even if I agree with it. And even if it's research numbers, from an annual report that they do that talks about the data in terms of theaters versus digital versus physical media. And if you actually take a look at physical media, you see very, very quickly, if anybody out there still wants to argue about Blu Ray versus DVD, they're making a mountain out of a molehill, because in the eyes of the MPA, that fight is completely irrelevant. All of physical media is one slice of the industry, and it is not a big one. When 4K Blu-ray can spend a couple of years getting only 5% of the market, while Blu-ray in general, in all the time it's been out, by 2019, can't even get half the market, and still the physical media market, and still loses to DVD. I think the fanboys' arguments have been rendered moot. I don't think there's anything left to argue about. Those of us who've been skeptical and thought our way through all of this and made the right moves at the right time have less egg on our face. The people that threw the fits on the internet all those years ago, they can figure out what they're going to do. Speaking of figuring out what we're going to do, since we got the overlays fixed, let's say some nice things about some of these people that have subscribed to the channel. MXRC, thank you for the sub. I think I did that one last time. See here. Moises, thank you for the sub. And Eris, thank you for the sub. These were the sub notifications that weren't working last time. All right, let's fire some things up here, and let's get this discussion going again. Get some music going here so it's not totally silent in the background. There are some chat streamers on YouTube that just chat with whatever they have for a work-at-home setup or whatever. I intend on doing a little better than that. So our story continues with myself having basically gotten all the Jaws stuff that I want to get for now. So there's a Blu-ray release of Jaws, there's a Blu-ray release of all the sequels. Weirdly enough, this might catch people's eyes for the wrong reasons in Walmart. Oh, look, it's a Jaws collection? Oh, it doesn't include the original. And of course, I've had this DVD for quite some time, and I thought, oh, this is a couple minutes, years ago when I first got this DVD, I was like, check it out, Jaws is just a couple of bucks. And now in today's world, hey, check it out, Jaws is just a couple of bucks. If you want to spend double digits on Jaws, you're going to have to get the 4K release. But I've been quite soberingly reminded that it is going to be quite an investment to get into 4K Blu-ray, and this might actually be part of the issue with why the market share barely inched into the single digits since the format was released. So for 4K Blu-ray, I was like, yeah, I'll probably need a 4K TV. I don't have that yet, so when this TV finishes cooking itself, which I've had since the end of 08, so my TV and my interest in Blu-ray is post-format war, so not a bit more than a coincidence in that. So yeah, to get into 4K Blu-ray, so what I would need is 4K TV, duh, but I would also need equipment that supports HDCP's newer version that is only on the newer stuff. So I already knew that my AV receiver would have to be replaced because it's a 1080p device, but I would also have to very specifically make sure that the latest HDCP that is required at every link in the chain be supported there. And then my question with that is, how is it with my graphics card? Will the second monitor still work? Because I actually get HDCP errors depending on how I have the display set up. I actually found in Windows 10 that I'm using the projector menu to shut off the second display. So basically I have to switch the input if I want, to be able to control the volume properly and everything and not get HDCP errors to watch regular Blu-rays, never mind something in 4K. I have to actually go like screen only and change the source to the AV receiver. So that way it's just computer to AV receiver to this thing. And then so we have that, and then my volume control works and things like that. I'm really starting to get PC Blu-ray working pretty well with the latest updates. I'm thinking of upgrading my Blu-ray software because I've got everything tuned up, and I actually have, for example, the True Theater and stuff that is available with Power DVD. I actually have the True Theater and everything working, so Jaws has made for really great reference material in getting all this working, along with, the differences between, not just the differences between DVD and Blu-ray, but the differences between Blu-ray closer to vanilla form, so to speak, on the PlayStation 3, and Blu-ray souped up with enhancement filters like better contrast and other stuff on PC. I'm actually curious if PC Blu-ray programs will eventually start doing things based on AI and some machine learning. There's some newer programs like Corel's latest photo editing program actually has some AI filters that actually try to intelligently learn by scanning the photo before adding stuff. I'm curious when that's going to make it over to movie watching software, to where maybe the upscaling that you get with your DVDs has some kind of processing and some kind of algorithm behind the scenes to give better results than the sharpening filters of days gone by. So it'll be hilarious to see just how much DVDs can be made to sing and dance, so to speak. But that's what I've been up to. So the problem is, last night, oh man, the reason I didn't do anything last night because I was like, I'm gonna get through this backlog, so I'm gonna full complete Jaws, watch all the bonus features. I spent most of the night just watching the bonus features on this one Blu-ray. Got into the bonus features on Jaws too, and I was like, you know what? I'm a man of backlogs, like so many guys out there. The running joke is that guys always have this to-do list that they never get around to. I am totally falling into that mold because I made zero progress in the backlog. I've already seen Jaws, already seen the Jaws sequels. I was trying to full clear this Blu-ray. Meanwhile, I've got other Blu-rays that I haven't watched yet. I also have parts of DVDs I haven't watched yet, other DVDs I haven't watched yet, and I also have digital stuff I haven't watched yet. There's stuff on Amazon Prime Video, there's stuff on YouTube, there's stuff on Vudu. So I've got all this other stuff I could be watching, including some complimentary films that I received just for setting up a digital streaming account on a video service that I still haven't seen yet. One of them being Lady Ghostbusters from 2016. I got that as a bonus, a digital bonus, when I bought a Ghostbusters Blu-ray pack that had Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. Originally, I just got digital copies of those two movies, but I logged in later and I saw that Lady Ghostbusters had been added. I don't know if that's an admission, that maybe, you know, folks were angry at the reboot or something. You know what? I'm going to see it just for the heck of it. You know, I'm going to see it just for the heck of it. If it's decent, then so be it. I mean, there were a lot of people on the internet that were angry at, you know, a movie that where the Ghostbusters were all women. But I mean, I want to see, you know, just what the movie, how the movie does versus the 80s original. And, you know, I'm open-minded enough to... Here's the thing. People can freak out about that movie all they want. Bottom line is, OG Ghostbusters, as well as Ghostbusters 2, and I even watched the cartoon when I was a kid, that's all still out there. It doesn't disappear just because people are trying something different with Ghostbusters. That's the thing. And, you know, if there's an uproar and the box office sales are blah and stuff like that, well, there's the answer on that and what the next Ghostbusters movie should be. That's the way it is. Unless, of course, you have wackerdoodle executive leadership in these companies that wants to deliberately tank their own earnings by releasing unpopular stuff or by crossing boundaries they should not cross. Unless you have that going on, in which case just watch the old stuff until these studios get some new leadership or get their heads together, you know? Let them lose. If it really is that bad, that'll happen. So here's the plan. First, I'm going to catch up on the backlog. Blu-ray, DVD, digital, just the movies. And then, since it's been so long since I've watched maybe some of these older Blu-rays and whatnot that I've had since going back to when I first got into Blu-ray, I want to see, I might cancel my ESO subscription to do this. I want to full clear my entire movie collection. DVDs, Blu-rays, the whole 9 yards, including all the special features. First, we got to catch up on the stuff we haven't seen yet before we go doing that. So that includes, that does include the backlog for physical media. It includes the backlogs for the digital services, as well as free with ads. Recently, YouTube's algorithms recommended the Adam West Batman movie as free with ads. I'm definitely going to check that out. Because I have actually a Blu-ray, I actually have a Blu-ray compilation of the 80s and 90s Batman films, and I also have the Dark Knight trilogy on 1080 Blu-ray as well. So I don't know, maybe I have a big Batman marathon or something, starting with the 60s Batman on YouTube and whatever else is available, and then moving on to 80s Batman, 90s Batman, all the other, just go on a giant Batman spree, you know. And it's cool, you know, to see movies that I wanted to see in the theaters as a kid and whatnot. Now they're in the bargain bin at Walmart under Blu-ray, like Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze. I wonder if there's a Ninja Turtles trilogy. I actually saw the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie with the dudes in the costumes and everything in the theater as a kid. This is back before my stepmother went wild about no violence. There's violence in videos. My stepmother got caught up in all the violent video game hysteria of the 90s. So it got to the point where, just to give you an idea, the helicopter stages and Pilot Wings on the Super Nintendo were too violent because the helicopter shot a little purple ball as to drop bombs on targets. So we can talk about this some other time. So that's the plan, really. Since I've gotten back into Blu-ray and stuff like that, we shall check out what I have. I'm also keeping an eye on this enthusiast scene. Again, physical media equals an enthusiast format. Somewhere along the line, this scene of nerdy enthusiasts who just want to, YOLO it, have arisen that are getting back into HD DVD. No, seriously. There are these people making videos about HD DVD on YouTube. They're hunting down old players that still work, and then they're like, I got this movie for $1. I got this movie for $2. So I actually checked it out. Cold ones at the ready. I actually checked it out on Amazon. There are still refurbished HD DVD players out there. Over a decade since the end of the format war. Oh, crap. Wow, man. More drink. Over a decade since the end of the format war, and there are still refurbished HD DVD players out there, and there are also new HD DVD movies being sold, as in new condition. Obviously, there's not new movies being made. The format's been dead for over a decade, but I thought I was going to get nothing but used listings. I thought I was going to get nothing but used listings when I went looking on Amazon for HD DVD. But the interesting thing is, a lot of the remaining HD DVDs that are new in the box that never sold all these years later, since the format died, all these newer HD DVDs are actually combo packs with HD DVD and regular DVD, sometimes a flippy disc with regular and HD on the same disc. Kind of like, you know, back in the DVD heyday, you had full screen and widescreen, flip the disc to change square to wide and stuff. I don't even call it full screen, it's square screen, it's 4:3, it's what televisions did. It's the disclaimer screen ratio. This video has been modified from its original version. It has been formatted to fit your TV. That thing that confused the heck out of me when I was little. Formatting? Is it like formatting a computer disk? Whatever. So, it's interesting. It's kind of like how vinyl has made a comeback. There are people interested in vinyl, even though it's analog. The records can wear out. You need to get a record player, the needle. Crosley Cruiser is blah, that kind of crap. So, and cassette is actually making a comeback as well, because people are curious about analog equipment. So there's an enthusiast niche out there of folks that like to nerd out on some of the old stuff. I can understand it with vinyl. I don't understand it with cassettes. If it ever happens with VHS tapes, then my dad will probably celebrate, because I think he still uses VCRs. You know, he's one of those, he's totally a mainstream guy. He just wants to see the content, even if it's on VHS. And he brags to me about how, oh yeah, I bought a bunch of movies, 3 for $1 at the flea market. And I'm like, they're VHS tapes. You're lucky if they even still work. Yeah, I don't miss tape. Oh boy, magnetic media. Woo, yeah. Yeah, take it too close to your sound system and the magnets from the speakers mess around with things. So, much in the same vein as these people that are getting back into vinyl and getting back into cassettes, there's a group of people on the internet that are getting back into HD DVD. So I'm keeping an eye on this. I'm actually curious. I actually did find a decently priced HD DVD player refurbished, one of the many Toshibas out there. I'm actually curious about that. It's kind of funny to see if I could find like a $2 movie that I really liked. So, but I could also get $2 movies by going to the secondhand stores. Usually DVDs, the last one I went to on a regular basis before it closed, partly because of the pandemic, actually had like $2 DVDs and $4 Blu-rays. So I imagine if I look around, I can find stuff. It's one of those nerd YOLO checklist things and whatnot that maybe, you know, having not really spent much of the stimulus or other stuff from the American Recovery Act, I might want to consider just YOLOing it up and hoping the HD DVD player works. But I find it interesting that many of the remaining HD DVD releases still on Amazon in some dark corner of some warehouse somewhere are combo packs with HD DVD and regular DVD. So if you buy them, you're basically buying a DVD version with a red, you know, with a red high def thingy. You're basically buying it in an HD DVD container. So, but here's something to think about though. I've mentioned before that some of the old talking points about, oh, HD DVD wasn't better because it was cheap. It was that way because it was struggling. Well, some of this applies to Blu-ray now. I find it interesting too, you know, there were some combo packs that popped up for HD DVD before HD DVD tanked. And now we have combo packs for Blu-ray that have popped up as Blu-ray has struggled. All these years later, couldn't even take half the physical media market. DVD still is the majority of physical media, 57% in 2019. Blu-ray couldn't get past the 40s. Game over. And of course, this argument is rendered even more irrelevant because of streaming services. The new good enough format. Now, I mentioned a while back that Samsara a wonderful movie for showing off what high def can do. It's available on Amazon Prime as part of the Prime Video subscription. And I've squared it off versus the Blu Ray, which Baraka and Samsara are still $20 plus Blu Rays even all these years later, but I think it's very worth it considering the incredible quality of the footage in those movies. You want to show off what high def can do at 1080p? Get those. I mean, those are must buys. I even picked up Kronos as part of the trilogy, which is an older 80s movie, not quite as on point as, oh, here's Baraka, not quite as on point as Baraka and Samsara. But yeah, so Samsara specifically is on Amazon Prime, and I've noticed some minor differences on some of the scenes. So the Blu-ray is crisp and defined, like the cloud scene I mentioned earlier, and then on the internet it's fuzzy. But even still, if you have one of these movies on Amazon Prime with the quality cranked all the way up to like 8 gigs an hour or something, the fact that it can approach Blu-ray if you have an internet connection without a bandwidth cap, that can be your good enough format, which means, haha, mainstream. But you know, that's where the money comes from, is the mainstream market. And that's something, it's probably the thing that enthusiasts are angry about, not just with movies, but with computers. The whole good enough thing is something you have to learn to live with and somehow find a way to navigate, especially when talking with people who don't nerd out on the internet about something as much as you do. Or maybe they're not as informed or something like that. Or maybe they just don't care. Maybe they know the facts, but they really don't, for some reason or another, they just don't care about maximizing the quality of what it is that they're watching. Then you have to take into account things like setups that are not optimal. So there's a blog entry that I was looking at about why Blu-ray didn't take over from DVD. Guy had a picture of a small 32-inch TV with TV speakers. And I'm like, well, there's one reason why you wouldn't want to buy a Blu-ray player. How do you benefit if you're sitting on a couch across from a 32-inch TV? Never mind your audio issue. But how on earth would you see all the detail in a Blu-ray if you could just upscale a DVD on that small 32-inch TV from across the room? That's what my folks' problems would be. See, they harken back to the days when they were yelling at me, "Don't sit too close to the TV when you're playing video games." Well, CRTs are long gone, but the living room, last time I was over there, the living room hadn't changed. They have an entertainment center along the front, and they have the couches going along the side and the back of the living room. So at both even the side couch, which destroys surround sound, by the way, even the side couch going along the side of the living room is still too far away from the 32-inch TV to see all the details of a Blu-ray. Upscale DVD will be fine for them. And they'll never have to deal with things like connect your player to the internet to renew the encryption key. So they have a DVD player. I think the best thing I could get for them if they even watch movies is an upscaling DVD player. I don't think they'll benefit from Blu-ray at all. Even though Blu-ray's cheap. Sad, but if they had Blu-ray, they'd have it just because the movies can be cheap nowadays. They would not actually benefit from the quality. I don't think anywhere in that living room would actually benefit. You have to get in front of that little TV in order. I mean, my TV is 37-inch, and I'm using it like a computer monitor. This distance is what I watch Blu-rays in. I may lean back in the chair, but even that's not as far as going on the couch. So yeah, I have to sit somewhat at attention to see all the detail in a Blu-ray. Simply because of the distance thing. Otherwise, upscale DVD is fine. Streaming is fine. Streaming sometimes is the new upscale DVD. Sometimes it's not even upscale. Some streams are capped at 480. Some streams are capped at stereo sound. But the thing is, it's not like upscale DVD was the only mainstream format to ever be a thing, nor was streaming. We're also talking about things like, for example, and this is one of the reasons why I say physical media equals enthusiast format. The minute you care about a disc, you're probably an enthusiast. If you're looking at things like cover art, extras, digital copies, other little featurettes here and there. Baraka is probably the better movie to parade about. Or in this case with Baraka, 8K Ultra Digital HD. this was the movie to show off your setup with before Samsara came out. Samsara, by the way, is on Prime Video. Wonder what other services it's on where it's free with ads or whatever. Or included with something. I don't know, maybe it's on Netflix, who knows? I haven't been on Netflix in years. Can't justify it. Not with their pricing scheme. If I could just have... I mean, I haven't been watching enough online video to really justify a Netflix cost. If I was watching a ton of stuff, it would make sense. As it stands, it doesn't. Anyways, mainstream formats prior to upscale DVD. Mainstream formats. It wasn't just DVD that was mainstream. There's also television. When Blu Ray was 1080p, and oh, look, 1080p. I remember seeing, you know, movie channels on TV and stuff that were doing everything in 720. So basically the equivalent of downloadable HD, because there were a lot of times when the HD stuff that was available for download somewhere was like 720p or something. Even some digital copies that I've had over the years have been capped at 720, so they wouldn't be as good as the Blu-ray. So just weird stuff that some of these rights holders are doing to make you maybe consider buying physical media. Or something along those lines. But the thing is, all the carrots on a stick aren't going to do a thing. When you're talking about the mainstream market who just wants to see the movie somehow. The mainstream market will not care that they'll just, about the goofy artifacts of your upscale filter for upscale DVD. They'll just sit back further from the TV and probably relax and enjoy it. So it's really only the enthusiasts that really care about this stuff. And let's also, while we're on the topic of stuff that's on TV, that also would mean like VHS back in the day. Or how about, say, people that didn't have the money for a music collection, so they recorded all their music off the radio. So they'd be listening to music on cassette tape, and really there's like DJ segues on every single song because they have a whole bunch of cassettes with like songs they recorded off the radio. Or how about the video version of that? This is where we can get into a discussion of the most extreme example of I don't have any money, but I'm still going to have a movie collection, so help me whatever. My stepmother's mother, before she passed away, shortly after my dad and I came to Connecticut. So she didn't have any money. She was old. She didn't have the career that my stepmother had, where she even made a lot of money in the first place, from what I understand. But she did have a TV, she had an entertainment center, and she had VCR, and she had a ton of VHS tapes. So what she did was she got some inexpensive cable TV when cable became a thing, and then every single time there was a movie on TV, she would be recording it on her VHS tapes. And she actually wrote down the timestamps. I think she might even record them in EP, the low quality mode, so she could get more stuff recorded on a tape. So, extended play, that's what that stands for those who aren't familiar with VHS. SP and then EP on the other extreme. So, high quality or long record time. I think she chose the latter. She was recording off of analog cable TV, so it wasn't going to be all that great. So, but she very vigilantly built herself up a movie collection by recording in EP mode on VHS. And she wrote on the little labels where everything was and what the timestamps were. And after she passed away, and my stepmother inherited this monster of a VHS tape collection, none of which was actually an official VHS of anything. It was literally like, go to the drugstore, buy some tapes for your VCR, and then record the living daylights out of stuff from your cable on them. One of the first things my dad did was he went and he bought a record book, a hardcover record book like you would use for accounting or something. Not a ledger, it was about maybe the size of a journal or something. But he bought a record book and he cataloged the entire VHS collection that my stepmother had inherited. Which tape had which, I think he numbered the tapes and everything and wrote down which tape had what on it. And it was all cataloged in a book. Until the tapes wore out or whatever, he recorded over them or something along those lines. And this was the forerunner to a system he would eventually use with more current stuff that was on TV. So my dad and my stepmother, they always liked to watch comedians. They always liked watching improvs and things like that. The late night shows that were where the jokes would be spicier because it was late at night and it wasn't appropriate for kids and blah, blah, blah. And so all these improv shows would be on at like 3 in the morning or something. They were both day shift workers in their working years. So they would just set the timer on the VCR and be recording comedians. They would let it get out to a couple of days worth of tapes. Then they'd start watching them. And my dad actually had a system where he cataloged all the VHS tapes, what was on them, what they had watched and could be recorded over, and what was recorded waiting to be watched. He had a whole system going and everything. So I'm sure he was proud of it too. Of course, I'm the kid of the family, so I'm into Blu Ray and stuff. But in a sense, I don't really need to know that this is Baraka or anything, or whether or not I've seen it. This guy went to town. I mean, I think he might still have 2 VCRs. He's kept them running somehow, but I think it's because before VCRs were discontinued, he went on a shopping spree and bought as many as he could. So I think he might even have VCRs new in the box that have been sitting there for like 10 years. But he was proud of his ability to catalog VHS tapes, none of which would in any way give the highest quality experience. It was all mainstream. It was all good enough. And in today's world, this niche is filled via streaming. And this is where we should take a look at a little something from the MPA, the Motion Picture Association. I've known them as the MPAA, along with the RIAA. They're known for being copyright nuts, so I will not show any of their material whatsoever on screen. We're just going to read this as is. So hopefully you don't mind me looking like a radio guy, just sitting here talking, but super long vlog? I guess so. So, the theme report is basically, it's data from the year for theatrical, home, and mobile entertainment and how everything did, what people are spending their money on. So this is where you see the breakdown of how the theaters did, how digital services did, and how physical media did. Physical media, all physical media, including Blu Ray, DVD, maybe even these nerds out there bringing back some kind of revived interest in HD DVD. Physical media is all one slice of the pie. And that slice is a small one, and it is basically cut in half over the past few years. Past 5 years, actually. Global theatrical, home, and mobile entertainment market in billions of US dollars. What people are spending money on. Theaters, believe it or not, prior to the pandemic and all the theaters being shut down, were growing in terms of the money they were bringing in. But so was digital media. What wasn't growing was physical media. $14.9 billion between everything, Blu Ray, DVD, the works. In 2016. In 2020, $7 billion. Theaters dropped off, and digital, see here. Theaters dropped off, and digital picked up some of the slack. But when you have an economic contraction worse than that of the Great Recession, people don't exactly have all kinds of money to blow here. So $42.3 billion in 2019 cut to $12 billion in 2020 with the shutdowns and the pandemic and everything. So $30 billion shortfall, $30.3 billion. Digital media, 61.8 minus 47.2, 14.6. So shutting down the theaters wasn't made up for in the expansion of digital media. And some of that was at the expense of physical media as well. Market share, global market share percent. In 2020, at least, theatrical artificially lowered because of the pandemic, 15%. Physical media, 9% of the market between everything. Digital, 76%. Now, we know, of course, that different devices use, I mean, you're talking with stuff like this, like Blu Ray and whatnot. You're looking for a game console or a computer or a standalone player, but standalone players have contracted enough that Samsung exited the market in 2019. So, US market at least. So maybe they're still doing stuff in South Korea or whatever, but yeah, it's just physical media. Whatever's left of it is very, very, very much in decline. Little wonder I can find such really high-quality Blu-rays for a couple dollars. And that there are more and more movies with recognizable names that I recognize that are at bargain bin prices. Now, Stoudman stopped by after the last stream, and he mentioned that some things have gotten more expensive because in some cases with some releases, they're out of print. Well, that'll happen anytime. It's called collector's prices. The other relevant thing to note is, of course, the current chip shortage that's jacking up the prices of electronics worldwide. I mean, we're talking some pretty serious price increases because of the silicon shortage going on right now. But that's a blip in the grand scheme of things. When the market fixes everything and the prices come back down, then the only thing we'll have left to look at is what people did with the content. And furthermore, Blu-ray, 1080 Blu-ray at least, is in the nice position where Blu-ray is actually in a position where you probably already have something that plays it. You have an Xbox from the past several years, going back to the original Xbone, the Betamax player-looking Xbox One. You have Blu-ray. You have something that plays Blu-rays. You have a PS4. You have something that plays Blu-rays. You have PS4 Pro or Xbox One X. You have something I think that can play 4K Blu-rays. So you have something like that you can do. You have a PS3. You have a Blu-ray player. And the cost of Blu-ray players, I mean, we looked at the Walmart special, the $50 Blu-ray player. Standard price. That used to be something we would celebrate as a Black Friday special and then wonder what features it didn't have. But it's not hard to get into Blu-ray these days. Especially when you have all these combo packs out there that give you something digital to watch on your other devices when you buy the Blu-ray. So you're not falling behind in terms of a digital movie collection by having a physical movie collection. And these sweetheart deals are pretty awesome as far as I'm concerned. Because I don't agree with this conspiracy theory that's going around out there, and this is worth making its own video about. There's a conspiracy theory out there that the reason why Blu-ray hasn't won versus DVD is because Blu-ray makers got too soft by not forcing people to upgrade. By making combo packs, Blu-ray makers waved the white flag of surrender, and so that's the key reason why Blu-ray couldn't win against DVD. What a load of crap. Combo packs for Blu-ray are not Blu-ray makers getting soft. This isn't a going soft thing. Combo packs saved the format. And that's the reason why I have all these Blu-rays in this big stack right here. So, I'm not going to go through them all. We'll make a video going through all of these individually, but we've already showed Baraka, we've shown 300. We got Casino Royale, Hunt for Red October, Kingdom of Heaven, The Rock, National Treasure, Shark Week, The Great Bites Collection, The Patriot, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and The Searchers. These are all Blu-rays that I picked up in the early days of Blu-ray when I first got into the format, at the end of the 2000s going into the 2010s. So here's the thing, I knew Blu-ray was 1080p, so I waited until I got a 1080p TV, which I've been running into the ground since the end of 2008, before getting into Blu-ray. So Blu-ray was 1080p. Why buy Blu-ray if I didn't have a 1080p screen yet? So I had DVD, but I didn't bother with Blu-ray, especially with how expensive everything was. $30 movies, players that cost over $100 unless it was Black Friday, and the PC variant of Blu-ray was a total mess. And I didn't want to have to change sources on the TV and, have another player taking up space on my shelves when I would often be playing video games instead of watching movies. So the idea of getting a standalone Blu-ray player did not appeal to me at all versus getting it working on the computer. I eventually did get a standalone Blu-ray player via my PS3 in 2012 when I YOLO'd it during the layoff period. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let the layoffs keep me from buying a Blu-ray player when I'm curious about how standalone Blu-ray players work versus PC. So my PS3 has been my standalone Blu-ray player or backup, depending on how well the software works, for years. So you got all this going on, and the hard counter the hard counter to this conspiracy theory regarding, oh, combo packs. They're the reason why Blu-ray couldn't win against DVD. The Blu-ray makers should have been a lot harsher on consumers and forced them to upgrade. They tried that. That's what all this was. These are all Blu-ray only releases. Nowadays, I know with 300 there is one. Maybe with some of these other releases there are as well. But I already had the DVD of some of these, and I only wanted a Blu-ray upgrade. But these were like $20, $25 for just the Blu-ray. So if this was ever going to work, if this idea of trying to force people to upgrade to Blu-ray by not selling combo packs was ever going to work, it would have worked during the late 2000s going into the 2010s. It would have worked when I was picking these up. It didn't. I watched the statistics for years before Blu-ray stats decided to stop tracking them after Blu-ray just couldn't win against DVD. And the big surrender for me was when the combo packs started showing up. I thought the combo packs were awesome because the combo packs would cater to the mainstream market. You know, the source of all of that money you can make whenever you're selling anything, the good enough crowd. They would get their DVD for their current player. They ever had something that played Blu-rays and they had a setup where they could benefit from the increased quality. Then they could actually play the Blu-ray in that collection to watch the movie that way. Or in the release to watch the movie that way. So I'm curious if there were people out there, they were laggards to adopting Blu-ray, and then they bought an Xbox One or something, and like, well, this thing plays these movies. Let's see. So the Blu-ray disc out of this combo thing, this is Baraka, so it's not. Let's see what this looks like. Ooh, so that's what I've been missing all these years. I'm curious how many stories there are of people getting into physical HD media, HD physical media that way. I'm actually curious how much that happened. And of course, today you've got people that are like curious about HD DVD and they're tracking down HD DVDs like, I got a $2 movie and it looks amazing at 1080p. Yeah. That's worth another video in and of itself too, is a discussion of HD DVD. So, physical media at all means you're an enthusiast. Because the mainstream folks can watch a movie on TV if they still have a TV service. They could watch a movie free with ads on various digital services, or they can stream it through a streaming service, maybe even Amazon Prime, where they have it for, you know, ordering from Amazon.com and they're seeing what's in the catalog for videos when they're not buying things. The minute you're buying any physical media at all, you're an enthusiast, period. Even if it's a DVD. Because this is the part where you go beyond just looking at just wanting to see the movie, just wanting to see, you know, what it's all about. And you're looking at things like director's commentaries. Was the transfer any good? You know, especially with some DVDs, where DVDs sold themselves on extras because VHS couldn't do that. So you would have DVDs that would be loaded with tons of extras, and then sometimes those extras wouldn't even make it over to the Blu-ray release. So you have all of this going on. Now we come to this wonderful world we have today, where, other than some wild exceptions like Baraka and Samsara, you can actually get a Blu-ray collection quite nicely. And then that's to say nothing, of course, of secondhand stores. There are people that are getting out of physical media, and they're like, I don't really care about having discs on shelves anymore, so they're selling off DVD and Blu-ray collections to secondhand stores. It was fun, you know, going into a Salvation Army store and seeing Blu-ray. I should go back, see if there's any that are showing up. A lot around here, though, a lot of Salvation Army store stuff is like from like estate sales, things, stuff that didn't sell at an estate sale. So you'll see like a lot of junk that was in somebody's attic or something. I don't even know how the Salvation Army folks around here keep a straight face. I see these YouTube videos of people from more affluent areas of the United States. They're going to Goodwill and they're buying like computers and stuff, and they're getting wonderful deals on all kinds of things over at like Goodwill or something. And so, and over here you've got like, you know, it's a yard sale in a store. So I'm curious, with the weather getting nicer and you know, being fully vaccinated as of in less than a week, And I think I might go check out some secondhand stores, wearing masks and doing all the other stuff you're supposed to do. See which ones are still in operation and go see if there's Blu Ray showing up there and what price it's showing up as. Because whereas Walmart bargain bin Blu Ray is $5, and there's some movie packs where you can get like $3 movies. Like, for example, the Predator one that I picked up. That contains... it's buried under here. Alright. The Zeranizerac crowd is going to puke when they see this. Predator triple feature, $15, so bargain bin prices. One of them is the ever so infamous Ultimate Hunter Edition. I'm gonna get a good laugh. I already saw a couple of seconds of this with no audio just to see if it really did look that ugly. Yeah, Plastic Arnold. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger was like, that looks bad, or something. Yeah, way too much DNR. Way too much DNR. I'll treat it like a DVD and sit back further from the screen just to watch the movie if I need to. See if I can do that without making fun of how some goofball went crazy scrubbing the living daylights out of the film grain. Hey, but you know, the point is, I've seen the videos complaining about the Ultimate Hunter Edition. Well, I'm picking it up when it's bargain bin priced. Whatever this was when it was new, I didn't spend that for it. But, that's one of the stupid little things. It's the arguments about Ultimate Hunter Edition... The things people say about Ultimate Hunter Edition, it's kind of had an AVGN effect on me. So, DNR, they scrubbed out all the film grain. And I'm like, is it really that bad? Just like James Rolfe throwing a fit. And people go out and play the games that he lampoons. Is it really that bad? I gotta see this for myself now. Though I suppose if you're gonna watch something that's DNR'd all to hell, this is the time to do it. Not when these things were new and maybe would cost you more than a couple dollars or whatnot. I'm over here talking about trying to start an HD DVD collection just for the heck of it, to see what kind of mileage I can get out of it. The Predator Ultimate Hunter Edition should not be something that bothers me. I have no excuse, so I'm gonna shut up. But these are the weird things that happen when you start talking enthusiasm. Although, maybe I'm not as much of a film enthusiast as I am a tech enthusiast, and I'm ready to laugh at just how the technology screwed up a release of Predator. So, oh yeah, let's take an 80s gritty movie about folks hunting some alien thing in a jungle or whatever, and let's scrub the hell out of the film grain and try to brighten it up. People sometimes. But that's what happens when you're talking about physical media being an enthusiast format, because it is. I mean, any physical media at all, you're an enthusiast. Hey, let's not even stop with Blu Ray either. Or DVD. It's the year 2021. If you're still trying to see what kind of quality you can squeeze out of VHS, VCR tapes, you are an enthusiast. If you maybe are a Betamax collector and you're like, this should have won the format war in the 70s, you're an enthusiast. If you are hunting down HD DVDs, which could very well not work because of whatever conditions they were stored in, because it's been over a decade since the end of the format war, but you want to pick up a refurb player and just see what kind of, if you can score a bargain with an HD DVD release that's floating on some auction lot somewhere or whatever, you're an enthusiast. If you want to get into vinyl, knowing full well that records wear out, they can warp, they can get dust on them, you have to deal with needles, you have to deal with mechanical action in your music, with your turntables, you are an enthusiast. If you are getting into cassettes, with the recent revived interest in cassettes, with certain YouTubers making videos about, I can make cassette tapes sound better than CDs, that kind of stuff, you're an enthusiast. If you're trying to make 8-tracks still work 50 years later, you're an enthusiast. You see what I mean? If you just want to experience the content, there's something on the internet for everybody. Even music. Even without a music service subscription. We talked before about searching YouTube for those topic videos that are auto-generated by the Content ID system. You can dial in songs and find an official video that will actually support the record company. If you want to do music on demand and know your way around YouTube, you can search for those topic videos or whatever that will actually support the artist and the record company, even if it's a piddly amount. You can actually dig those up and make YouTube playlists of them. I've been doing some of that recently. Playlists for country, playlists for contemporary Christian, stuff I listened to when I was a teenager and going to a church that was into that stuff. Playlists for the light tunes that my folks used to listen to, because for whatever reason, after listening to light favorites with less talk on a PA all day at work, they'd come home and want to listen to that on their home stereo as well. Phil Collins, Air Supply, sleepy stuff from the 70s and 80s, whatever. Yeah, so I've got a playlist for that. I got playlists all over the place for music nowadays. Now, you just put them on, go on shuffle. Hey, and on the video side of things too, my classic YouTube playlist, which I think is now one of the biggest on YouTube. Fire that sucker up, it'll start playing a video of some animation someone made with the OG YouTube logo. Put everything on shuffle and repeat and take a trip through the YouTube that I've known over the years, because I've dug up all these old videos that are still out there or were re-uploaded and made them into a playlist that you can shuffle, repeat, watch, just like the My Decade TV project. Playlist section on my YouTube channel, check it out. Do some digging. Also, with the return to the HD reality check, I've also gone searching for, I have a amalgamated playlist of the Zarin Isaac rants that I've been responding to for years, and I have a playlist of other people chiming in with their opinions on Blu Ray and everything else, including James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, actually finding ways that Blu Ray pales in comparison to DVD. Video quality is obviously not one of them, but with other things like the full experience and stuff. And any other opinion that goes against the grain of Blu-ray was going to take over the world once upon a time, I'm going to find that, we're going to catalog it, and we're going to have playlists for it. Because quite frankly, people deserve to get all sides to a story. I was skeptical of Blu-ray taking over the world. Some people may not have liked me for it. But now here we are. Blu-ray hasn't taken over the world. Couldn't even snag half the physical media market by 2019. Oh, and physical media has sunk badly, cut in half over the last 5 years in terms of sales. Which means, who's still buying Blu-rays? Who's still buying DVDs? Enthusiasts. I'm enthusiastic about how good movies can look, without slamming the heck out of bandwidth or anything like that on my network. So, might stream in... There are ways for me to watch 4K stuff. There are people streaming in 4K on YouTube. I'm an enthusiast about how nice things can look. I was amazed... put that Predator thing away. Ultimate Hunter Edition. I was amazed at how good a movie from the 70s could look after Universal's 100-year restoration project. I was amazed. It did seem like I was watching 70s TV, so I've seen some 70s TV shows before. There was a bit of a style to them back then. Everybody kind of did things a certain way. But this restoration made it look so good, it was like looking back in time. Especially on PC Blu-ray, known for its technical issues. Here I am, finally getting the filters working correctly on my old Power DVD, and it makes Amity look amazing in the non-shark parts of the movie. I should watch Baraka and Samsara on PC now. Not going to help me with my backlog. Samsara is buried down there. What else have I got? Oh yeah, another DVD. My first DVD of 2021, Outsourced. You can actually watch, it's a movie about kind of making fun of the outsourcing craze of the 2000s, which as a computer guy, I'm extremely familiar with. Having seen some people talking on LinkedIn, for example, about how their IT career, if they even got to have one, was basically them. There's nothing to this either. Look, just a disc. So, I've seen this a whole bunch of times on Netflix, and now it's available on Amazon Prime, free to watch. And the TV show that it inspired is out there too. But I've liked this movie so much because of the whole culture shock comedy element to it that I figured I'd pick up some kind of DVD or whatever to add to the collection. I don't think there was ever a Blu Ray release, DVD only, so I'll just upscale the thing and sit back further from the TV. But I think I want to watch Baraka. I think I want to run Baraka and Samsara through this new setup with PC Blu Ray. Won't help me with my backlog any, but darn it, I'm in the mood for some eye candy. Samsara, by the way, available on Amazon Prime Video. You Amazon Prime people, crank the quality up to 8 gigs a second, and forgive the fact that it doesn't quite stack up to the Blu-ray quality, but it's still quality. I can tell you that the streams can look better than upscale DVDs. Stream it in HD with a proper bit rate. You won't hit Blu-ray, but you'll smoke up upscale DVDs and their sharpening filters. Unless some miracle of algorithmic whatever technology comes out that actually makes upscale DVDs look better than like 720p or something. But that really brings us to just another interesting point with regards to this. You're talking about any physical media at all. You're talking about any physical media whatsoever being an enthusiast format. When would you actually... What about upscale DVD, though? Where would you watch upscale DVD? When the screen size meant that the upscaling artifacts wouldn't bother you anymore. My laptop's like a 17-inch laptop, doesn't even have a 1080p display. 1366 by 768, DVD will do just fine on that. If I use the HDMI out to go to a TV, completely different story. But it's just one of the many things that has kept DVD going, alongside, of course, maybe something wasn't high enough quality or wouldn't bring in enough money for a Blu-ray release to be worth it. So DVD it is. Or maybe it's something like a cartoon. So do you really want to go 1080p on something that was just pencil strokes and paint and stuff? I'm talking like old Charlie Brown cartoons and stuff. I have a few of them on DVD. I was a big fan of Snoopy Come Home when I was a kid, so when I saw a DVD for like $3 at Walmart, I was like, let me just get that. I haven't seen that since I was little. See what it looks like to watch some of the things I liked as a kid, as a grown adult, and see how much all this experience changes my view on things. I got my first taste of that in college when the rights holders to the Mario Brothers Super Show allowed you to stream it for free over the internet. And I was like, oh, I used to like this when I was 6. What were we thinking? Different discussion. But yeah. Alrighty. Well, why don't we kick the tires on this high-def setup and try to get through the backlog. But ladies and gentlemen, the world we live in is one where if you're into any physical media whatsoever, you are an enthusiast. And I can tell you that, filmed in the 2010s, if you can track down the Blu-ray for Samsara, you're definitely an enthusiast if you like this kind of eye candy. The successor to Baraka, although Baraka is pretty darn good looking in and of itself. Tried watching the trailer for Baraka on YouTube and wasn't impressed with the quality too much, so this whole thing with the digital gotchas of the digital copies probably won't play nice with a big TV versus Blu-ray, or maybe if there is digital, maybe like Netflix or something, digital HD with that or something along those lines. But again, the wild card with streaming is going to be, what do the rights holders do? Streaming is incredibly fragmented right now. It used to be you just bought a Netflix subscription and you had discs and you had streaming. Then there was the infamous split, and now the disc business is so small. It's basically it's a subsidiary, or no, it's a Netflix company. I really wonder if it would be worth it for Netflix to bring them back together. So DVD.com, just include it with Netflix. Is there really still the financial incentive with how the physical media has shrunk so much with its percentage of total market share that Netflix needs to remain two different services for two different subscriptions? Two different subscription fees? I don't know. That's just one of my little opinions there. But I think that's all that needs to be said to this with this. Physical media equals enthusiast. You are an enthusiast if you're tracking down anything physical these days. Be sure to check out the report from the MPA and read the gruesome numbers for yourself. I think even when the theaters come back after the pandemic, we're still going to see digital be huge. Theatrical will be huge as well. Digital will be huge. Physical, though, So when you're down to like 7% market share or whatever, when you're down to like $7 billion annually for physical media, when Blu-rays have gotten this cheap at the 1080 level, and the 4K format only got single-digit market share in a couple of years of being on the market. At what point do you have to say, if you're still looking for Blu-rays, you're probably an enthusiast? And what do we know? Those of us that have a formal business background that have studied some basic marketing stuff, the enthusiast market is always smaller than the mainstream crowd. That's the world we got to live in. And figure out what to do about, whether it's educating people or, you know, playing stuff to its strengths, like getting into certain technologies when it's worth it to do so. And so we got to ask ourselves. So, this has been a rather off-the-cuff discussion, but I intend on making far more direct videos about things like this, particularly that conspiracy theory about DVD Blu-ray combo packs being something that the industry should not have done. They should have forced people to upgrade to Blu-ray a lot harder. Yeah, we'll save that for whenever the heck I get around to videos with all this wonderful stuff to watch. Who knows what's going to happen with that? No way. I got stuff sitting around that I want to start using, like that new camera for making videos. Right. Blu-ray! You probably have something that plays it. Get into it. Darn it. It's an amazing time to get into it. You probably have something that plays it if you have a video game console. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.